meeting.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. This is the start of the April meeting for the chair for the Audit and Finance Committee meeting. Should we take a roll call? Natalie, should we take a roll call?
Yes, Kevin, I can do that. Thank you.
If you would, Tony, thank you.
Okay, so we have the four members of the Audit and Finance Committee, and then we also have joining us the balance of the board members. So we'll start first with the Audit and Finance Committee. So we have Kevin Harvey, who's the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee. Present, right, Kevin? Yep.
Present,
and then,
yes.
Then we have Anthony Giordano. He's on the Audit and Finance Committee. I see him, he's present. And then Sandra Cochran, who's our treasurer, and she's on the Audit and Finance Committee as well. I see her. And then Natalie Wright, who's a member of the Audit and Finance Committee as well. And then we also have joining in Greg Casamento, who's a board member, and then also Josh Slaughter, who's a board member. And then I guess we'll take a roll call on the also presence. So we have Anthony Catapano, that's myself, Kelly Morris, Darrell Leonetti, Regina Halliday, and then we have Andrew Kamaramory, who's one of our transaction counsels from Harris Beach, Joe Romano, who's will be participating at the full board meeting later on, representing Bagdalac. And we also have Brian Peterson, who's our outside agency accounting firm from AVZ. And then we also have on this meeting, committee meeting, Anthony Mariani and Stephanie Handel from Sheen and Company, which are the auditors. So I guess I'll turn it back to Kevin. And then I think Brian will be presenting the overview first, I believe.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Brian, would you give us a summary of your presentation for the audit statement?
Sure. So
thank you.
Good afternoon, Audit Committee. My name is Brian Peterson. I'm a partner at AVZ. We assist in management in the preparation of the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019. I'll be going over some of the financial highlights with you, and then we'll be handing the presentation over to Stephanie Handel or Sheen and Company to go over the audit aspect of the presentation. So we're going to start with the financial statements and the supplementary information, the draft copy that you guys have received. We're going to start on page 4 of the document. On page 4, you'll see a summary of our net position, our so-called balance sheet, okay, for the years 2019, 2018, and 2017. You can see that cash had decreased from 18 to 19, as well as our unrestricted net position also decreased. The reason for those decreases was due to the operating loss during the calendar year. On page 5, we have a little summary of some of the other changes. We have total assets as of December 31st, 2019 were 4.466 million, and deferred outflows of resources were 131,000, which exceeded total liabilities in the amount of 1.99 million and deferred inflows of resources of 36 million by approximately $2.6 million, which is also considered the net position. Of the agency's net position, 65,000 of it was invested in capital assets. Just above 2.5 million of it was unrestricted, which is available to support the operations. Still a very healthy net position for the agency. So the total assets decreased, like mentioned before, by $538,000 compared to 2018, and as well as the agency's net position also decreased by $542,000 due to the operating losses during 2019. One of the reasons for those operating losses, because we did have less project closings in 2019 compared to 2018. Moving on to page 8, you'll see there underneath operating results, we have our 3-year comparison for our operating revenues. You'll see in 2018, we had approximately $1.468 million worth of operating revenues compared to 2019, where we only had $684,000. You'll see there that in essence resulted in and we had income in 2018 of over $648,000, but we had losses in 2019 of over $572,000. Again, primarily due to, the decreases in the number of closings that we had during 2019. All right. If you can move forward to page 8. On page 8, you'll see that we have a detailed statement of net position there. You'll see there the cash position of $4.9 million in 2018 compared to the cash position of $4.364 million as of December 31st of 19 was a decrease, as well as our unrestricted net position as well decreased. Again, those decreases were due to the operating loss during 2019. Okay. On page 9, you'll see a more detailed breakdown of our operating revenues. You'll see that our bond issuance fees for 2019 were roughly $557,000 compared to 2018, which was $1.323 million. So you can see right there, we had our decrease in our project closing. I know Tony had prepared something related to some of the timings. We had some closings that were projected to happen towards the end of 2019. They did not. They were moved forward to the 2020 year. Okay. So that, again, is a timing issue. And then when you compare it to the 3-year comparison in the MD&A, you'll see in 2017, we also had a loss, but then, a gain in 2018 and then a loss in 2019. So it's very, up and down depending on the number of closings that the agency actually is able to do in a calendar year. Okay. A little further down on that same page, on page 9, you'll see the operating expenses. You'll see our advertising costs did increase from 18 to 19 with some new advertising programs that were initiated during 2019. And then you'll also see our post-retirement health benefits. So that is also called OPEB, other post-employment benefits. You'll see that we had a benefit of over $328,000 in 2018 due to some changes in the actuarial assumptions. But in 2019, we actually had a cost of around $28,000. So again, that's one particular item that goes up and down depending on how the actuary determines what that liability is and the changes in that particular liability in a given year based off of their assumptions. Okay. So from there, I'm going to ask you to turn to page 16. Start off with note 5, capital assets. You'll see there that during the year, we did have additions to our capital assets of $70,000 related to the website that the agency was investing in over the last 2 years. So that website, as you guys already know, have already been fully implemented and is in the progress. So that's now been capitalized and is being amortized. Okay. Going on to page 17, note 7, we talk about conduit debt. As of December 31st of 2019, there were 12 series of revenue bonds outstanding with the aggregate principal amount payable of approximately $64 million. Compared to December 31st of 18, where the aggregate principal amount payable was approximately $99.5 million. So a significant decrease from the 2018 year to the 2019 year, primarily due to planned principal payments that were made during that period. I'm actually going to move to page 21. Page 21, we got the header pension plans. So the agency has to recognize its proportionate share of the net pension liability from the New York State retirement system. So just a little, some numbers here. We got March 31st of 2018. The agency's proportionate share was just under $40,000. As of March 31st of 2019, the agency's share was around $86,000. So we did have an increase in that during the year. So for the year ended December 31st, 2019 and 2018, the agency recognized pension expenses of $67,000 and $55,000 respectively. Moving on to page 25. Again, we're still talking about the pension plan here. So the pension plan itself that's held by New York State had a total employer's pension liability of almost $190 billion. Okay. But you'll see that the ratio of the plan fiduciary net position for the employee total pension liability, the plan was funded 96% as of March 31st of 2019, but was funded 98% as of March 31st of 2018. So we did have a small decrease in the funding percentage, and that was why the liability did increase ever so slightly. So there, I'm going to ask you to go to page 28. Now we're going to be talking about the other post-employment benefits. Okay, so the total change in the total OPEB liability, you'll see there, balance at the beginning of the year, the total OPEB liability in the beginning of 2008 was $1.7 million. You'll see there at the bottom, it decreased to the end of 2008 to $1.4 million. Starting off in 2019, obviously we had that $1.4 million, and you'll see that it increased ever so slightly by another $14,000. Okay, so that was our change during the 2019 year. So small change. Moving on to page 30. Note 15 talks about subsequent events. So in March of 2020, as we all know, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak with COVID-19 as a pandemic. So what we don't know is we don't know how this is actually going to impact the agency during this upcoming year. We know that we potentially could have delays in closings and things like that. And we also might have organizations that, might have come forward that might retract. Okay, so we don't know exactly how this is going to affect us. And this is why this note is in here, is just to inform the board that, this could affect the operations of the agency. Okay, so at this point, I would like to hand it over to Sheen & Company to present the audit.
Thanks, Brian. This is Stephanie Handel from Sheen & Company. I'm actually just going to have you jump back in that same file that Brian was walking me through in the financial statements. Going to have you jump back to page 1 and page 2, which shows Sheen & Company's independent auditor's report. So this auditor's report is what we call an unmodified opinion on the agency's financial statements. So it is the cleanest opinion that we could be giving, meaning that we believe these financial statements to be fairly presented in all material respects. So we did not note any material misstatements within these financial statements. So the cleanest report that we could be giving on these financial statements. I'll also have you jump back to page 34, also in the same document. So page 34 shows the independent auditor's report on internal control and on compliance. This is another report that's required to be issued as we do conduct our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. This report would show any or list any material weaknesses and significant deficiencies if there were any that were discovered as part of the audit. There were none, so it's a fairly standard report here, just mentioning that we did not have any material weaknesses that we came across. So again, the cleanest report that the agency could be receiving. I'll draw your attention to a couple of other documents that were issued as part of the audit or will be issued as part of the audit. There's a management letter that was issued, as well as a communication with those charged with governance. We could take a look at the communication with those charged with governance, since that is our communication to you, the committee, as well as to the board. So the purpose of the communication with those charged with governance is essentially to let you know how the audit went. So it couldn't have gone smoother. So we're happy to report that. We do thank Tony, Daryl, Brian, Regina, all the folks over at the IDA for all of the assistance in making the process go extremely smoothly. So this report, the communication with those charged with governance, walks through any significant items that were noted during the audit. It mentions that there are some significant estimates within the financial statement. Brian had noted OPEB calculation being done by an actuary. So that is a significant estimate that's part of the agency's financial statements. It mentions that there was no new significant policies adopted by the agency this year. And it also lets you know that we will be receiving what we call a management representation letter. So a letter that will be signed by Tony, basically affirming to us that everything told to us during the audit, to the best of his knowledge and understanding, was truthful. So that will be received by us once all of these financial statements are approved by the board. So again, just a thank you to everyone. The audit couldn't have gone smoother, and we did issue the cleanest reports there. If anyone has any questions on the letters or the report, we'd certainly be happy to answer.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Stephanie. Does the committee have any questions regarding the audit report? If there are none, I would seek that somebody make a motion to accept it, to send it to the full IDA board.
I'll make a motion. Sandra.
Do I have a second?
This is Natalie. I'll make a second.
Okay. Tony, you want to take a roll call as to what the votes?
Thank you, Kevin. So Kevin Harvey, the committee chairman,
Yes.
and Anthony Giordano, committee member. Tony Giordano, maybe raise your hand or something. Maybe your audio's off.
You might be
Okay.
muted.
All right, it's recognized that he is voting in favor. And
Okay.
then Sandra Cochran, who's the treasurer of the full IDA board and also a committee member. She made the motion. And then we have Natalie Wright, who's a committee member.
Okay, so that being said, then it's a unanimous. We will send it to the full IDA board for approval.
Yes, unanimous 4-0. And I would also like to thank Brian Peterson of AVZ, our agency's accounting firm, and then Anthony Mariani of Sheehan, and Stephanie Handel, and Lisette Milan from Sheehan and Company. It was been a pleasure. They're very professional. It was a pleasure working with them. So a governmental audit is like the highest form of an accounting process that can be done. And I just wanted to thank them all for their assistance in doing it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. It's a pleasure working with everyone.
Well noted. With that, there's no more business regarding the audit committee for this meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Natalie. I'll make a motion.
And there's a second.
Tony Giordano is saying he seconded it. So then
Okay,
we'll
all
do
in-
the roll call. So Kevin
Sure.
Harvey,
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Anthony Giordano made the second motion. Sandra Cochran,
Yes.
and then Natalie Wright.
Yes, I made the motion.
She made the motion.
Okay, thank you. And I also just wanted to point out, so Bill Wexler, while he's not on the screen, I see him as an attendee. So he's been listening in on this committee throughout. So I just wanted to, when we did the roll call earlier, I didn't notice that. So I apologize to Bill Wexler, our agency counsel. So with that, I guess we're adjourned.